Okay, we are back with some information on the differential. What we've done for the locker is on the inside of these, you weld between that shaft and the gear on each side. You have to have it lined up so that each side is equal across, so that when you put your side gears back in, everything will sit properly. So what I did is I sat this flat in a vise and then loaded the end gears in, and these have teeth welded so that there is a 2-tooth gap on each side, and that will lock it on the side gears as well as the center. And this comes out. You can still pull this back. So you don't weld this side because that is machined to fit with those spacers, and you just weld it between the shaft and the gear. And then once you place that in with these end pieces, just welding this would lock it itself, but by welding each of the gears, you make it so that if it tries to rotate and put force on the next tooth over, it can't, because that gap is filled in. So you kind of spread the load between the side gears and the center gear, because there's a few people that say with the Peerless 820, if you are going with taller and more aggressive tires, that these center pins can break. But the way that this is welded, you could still take these apart. So when I welded it, I took this clip off, pulled the gear off, and then set it up so that when that cross gear sits in, it'll sit those two teeth and those two teeth. And I put a little bit of grease behind it when I put it back together, so that the bearings that are inside the back of that still have lubrication. Another thing that might be helpful is for the C-clips for the input shaft. I got a Dorman multi-pack 49899, and it has all these sizes in it. External are the ones that we needed, so we needed 1/2 inch and 1 5/8. Before that, I had gone to Tractor Supply, and you can buy individual 2-packs of the 5/8, but they were out of the 1/2 inch, so I had to find a multi-pack for the pinion input. So this will have a bevel gear on it going into the transmission, and then that's the 1/2 inch clip, and this side is the 5/8 that we pulled that 8-inch pulley off. So this has the keyway and set screw in it, and then also this retaining clip on top. Some guys add a secondary grub screw on this side, but I'm going to try it this way because it's a pretty snug fit with the keyway, and if I have issues where it starts moving, I'll try drilling and tapping and put another set screw on this other side, because it has the material to be done. It just doesn't come with 2 set screws from manufacturing. So we will we're going to dive into this and put our lockers set up together back into the transaxle case. So what's going to happen is we're going to clean up all the old silicone off of the case, scoop out some more of the grease, because we're going to fill that back in with some differential fluid to lubricate the gears for the higher operating speed it's going to see. And then this whole differential assembly will sit back in this rear portion. So I'm gonna bolt this back together and I'll show you some shots of that. This is just a quick clip of how this sits in here. So if you look, the welds block that next tooth from that center from rotating in like that. And going back together on this one, looking from the case, the short shaft side, this stepped clear machine part will be facing the passenger side, or the sitting on the mower, the right hand side of the case. So it'll sit in like this. I just wanted to give you a shot of this before bolting this back together, because once this side is set in, you won't be able to see how that meshes together, but that's our next step. Something else we're going to have to do because of running diff fluid in this is this cap that's here that normally would be to fill with grease or check your levels. We're going to drill out and put a vent on it so that it can have a breather tube run up to under the seat. And that way, as this case gets warm and the fluid expands, it'll have area to release that pressure and vapor from the diff fluid in there. So what I'm going to use is a stepper bit and get that started, drill that out, and then screw this vent into that plastic because the aluminum part is too wide to adapt it without that plastic piece. So I'm going to make that its adapter to that piece. So we'll switch back to that once I get it drilled out and show you the vent tube setup. Well, luckily there's just enough room to make that work. It went up to about 3/8 and then stepped the next size because this is like a tapered pipe thread, and then that sits right inside of that perfectly. The brass threads right into the plastic, so you don't have to worry about making threads for it. And then this part has the larger thread that adapts into the case down here on top of the shift arm. So we can screw that piece in. Hopefully we'll clear, but we might have to do that a little bit backwards to get that to work. Change of plans. This is going to run in to the case too quick before it'll tighten down all the way. So I'm going to change that to a vertical fitting instead of an elbow. I know I have one kicking around here. I just got to find it. It's probably in boxes with go-kart stuff. So once I find that, I'll switch that over to a vertical one. And then this will be going back in now that that's all together. And it's locked up, can't turn it. It's all back together. So each side has lock washers, and then this end is the threaded side, so that there's just a tiny bit of play, free play, between the gear set that's in here. But this is what I was talking about before, where it's all contained in there, which is why I pre-greased the back sides, because there's some bearings inside of this part of the housing. And then this is also a set of roller needle bearings, and then these outer ones are ball bearings that sit in the ends of the case in that groove. So we'll put the pinion piece back together, stack all these gears and shims and seal back in, and then once we have that, we'll line up all these collars have little set ears that have to be lined up before you put the case together. So pay attention to that when you're putting everything back together as well, so that because if you just go for it, you will wind up cracking the case. So make sure everything's lined up. It should seat down nicely. You shouldn't have to fight it. It should drop all the way together once you get the new RTV and stuff down. And then I like to work from the center and then alternating back and forth, go around and outwards to tighten everything down. It's going into aluminum, so you don't have to crank it very hard. It's only a few inch-pounds, I'm sure. But I've been doing this long enough that you get a feel for it. So we'll be back once we get some of this pinion back in and this the rear diff back in the transaxle. Alright, well, you saw me take it all apart, so we're doing the reassembly the abbreviated way in reverse order. We still got to change out that breather valve, fill it with some fluid. We got everything RTV sealed, just a light coat of that, and then a little bit under the bearings because we are fluid filling that, so the bottom half needs to seal well. And you can see everything runs smoothly. And all the gears shift through properly. I got this set up. Neutral. There. So we got it all back together, and tomorrow we'll be putting that back in with some new tires on, and then I'll show you how we can measure for belt size depending on which crank pulley we go with. So shorter video this time, but we're making progress, and next we can get into the fun stuff, do some exhaust work and some of the electrical to replace the regular key ignition with a push button start setup. So I hope everybody had fun watching and learned a thing or two. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comments. If it's your first time watching one of my lawnmower videos, give a like if you liked it, and subscribe please. So hope everybody has a good night, and we'll see you later. Bye.